Hello everybody and welcome back to another tier list. Today we actually have a requested tier list, as you can see here. We have a request here from Quaff the Dodo, who I'd like to give a bit of a shout out to this person as well, because they've been commenting on a lot of my videos, but they've come with a request for a vegetable tier list since I did a fruit one, and I thought, yep, my fruit tier list did alright as well, so people seem to like it, so it makes sense to do a vegetable one as well. So, just going to be ranking vegetables today then, as you've probably worked out by now. Just going to go in alphabetical order. See the categories here. We have a never had / not a veg category, as there are some things on this tier list that I don't think are vegetables, so they will be going in that tier, but we'll get to them when we get to them. So starting off, we've got an artichoke. It's not my favourite vegetable. I haven't had it often, but when I have had it, I've certainly not enjoyed it. You can do a bit to it, you know, you can sort of bake it, you can boil it. I think I've only ever had them boiled though, so that probably doesn't help either. I think a lot of veg is better if you sort of bake it or steam it or something rather than boil it. But I'll say an artichoke for me, from the few times I've had it, I'd avoid it. I do not like it. I'd happily never eat an artichoke again. Then we have asparagus up next. Definitely had this a lot more than an artichoke, but yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of it again still. You know, it's known for sort of making your urine smell bad, which is not really a positive trait, but taste-wise, it's not the strongest tasting thing, but I'm not the biggest fan. I think it's, as it's probably worked out, not a fan. Then we have an aubergine, or for the Americans, an eggplant, I believe. But I've actually never had this. I know it's known more for the sort of emoji these days rather than being a vegetable, but yeah, I've never had it either, to be honest. Don't know if I've spent all my life and not had one of them, but I certainly have avoided it somehow. Moving on to the B's, we have beetroot. Different colour actually, you know, purple, which is uncommon. You know, it sort of stains all your other food. You know, it stains everything. It's got like, I think most of the time I have sort of pickled beetroot, so that's has a nice tart taste to it. You know, a bit of like vinegar taste going on. It's different as well, you know, like I said, purple's not the most common food colour, and it looks now, I think it looks better than it tastes though. I think the taste's sort of fine, but you know, the colour's interesting. So I'll put it in fine tier. Then we have broccoli. I think broccoli gets a bit of an unfair rap as sort of being a bad vegetable, but I actually really like it. I like it boiled, I like it steamed. You can actually like bake it off as well. A nice tray of baked veg is good every now and again. You can even fry it if you really want to get a bit fancy, but I do just have it boiled most of the time. But I must say, broccoli, you know, it's good for you. It's pretty cheap. It's common. It tastes nice for me. I think it's definitely, I enjoy it, you know. I definitely happily have broccoli with multiple meals a week and enjoy it. Then we have Brussels sprouts. These for me only come out at Christmas dinner, and even then I still don't enjoy them. You know, but the family, you know, I always insist, oh, you've got to have Brussels sprouts, and I'm always forced to have a couple, but I do not like them. If it were up to me, I would definitely avoid them. But then again, that is only because I have them boiled. I feel like there's another thing that's probably better if you didn't boil them. Then we have cabbage. Sort of a bit of a boring veg in it, cabbage. It's not the most flavourful. Sort of just uses bulk on the side in it mainly. Bit of a filler thing. You know, it's not bad though, but it's also not good. I feel like it fits just nicely into the fine tier for me. Just there to fill up the plate rather than be a part of the meal, to me at least anyway. Then we have carrots. I really like, you know, you got orange. I do like carrots. You can eat them raw and cooked, which is, I like them both types. The orange, as I said, you know, so it brings a bit of variety. There's a lot of veggies green. Really nice taste. Really good texture as well in things. If when they're raw, I get a nice crunch. You can peel them, leave the peel on. That's also, you know, so we've got a bit of versatility. Also, you can make carrot cake, you know, if you want a bit of a sweet thing in your veg. Carrots are an option for that. I think carrots could be my favourite veg, you know, actually, so I've put them into the great tier. We have cauliflower, sort of a counterpart to broccoli. You know, you sort of think broccoli, you think cauliflower, at least I do, you know, the sort of the white version of. It does taste different though. Cauliflower cheese is nice, but a lot that's because of the cheese, I think. I think cauliflower on its own, a bit bland for me, but still alright. It's not offensive, but not great either. I think it's another fine. And we have celery, another sort of not the strongest tasting vegetable. Eat it raw. I don't know if you can cook it or not. I've never had it cooked if you can, but you know, though it does have a nice crunch, but you know, not the most flavour, and the flavour it does have, I'm not the biggest fan of. So I'd put it in the not a fan. I mean, I could eat it, but I wouldn't choose it. Then we have like a chili pepper, which I believe is a fruit, so it's going in the not a veg category. Then we have a courgette next up, which in America is a zucchini, I believe, but could be wrong on that. It's sort of similar to a cucumber, but sort of just worse in every way, in my opinion. You usually cook it as well, whereas a cucumber you sort of eat raw. But yeah, I don't have courgette very often, and I'm not the biggest fan of it, but I could eat it. It wouldn't like repulse me. I think it's just not a fan. It's not bad enough to be in the avoid tier for me. Then we have cress. Cress is, you know, small sort of green leafy bits used more as like a garnish, I guess, more than a piece of the meal. But I mean, I'm sure you could have it. Just dump a pile of cress on your plate if you wanted, and that'd be fine. Taste wise, it's not bad in my opinion. It's not the most interesting thing, but again, not the strongest flavour. But I'd say I'd like it, but it's not great. I'd say it's above average for its nicely for cress, for me at least. Then we have cucumber. As I kind of mentioned earlier, it's a bit like courgette or zucchini, but sort of better in every way. You know, eat it raw. It's really refreshing, especially in summer, you know, because it's so watery. It doesn't have the strongest taste, but I do like the taste, you know. It's a key ingredient, and if I'm making a salad, I've got to have cucumber in there, especially in summer, because, you know, they're refreshing, like I said. I don't know if you can have it cooked. I've never had it cooked, but you could, I don't know about that, but I do like cucumber, I'm a fan. I'll put it, yeah, I think it's good enough for the I enjoy it tier. Then we have something a bit different here. We have garlic, which is more used as sort of a flavouring rather than you wouldn't just eat the garlic, would you? Well, I'm sure you could, but I don't think it'd be very nice. It's used more in sauces and things, and in like you put it in other things to sort of enhance the flavour rather than just eating the garlic. I do quite like garlic in things, you know, just sort of give it a bit of flavour, a bit of depth. Like a nice garlic mayo is not bad as well as a sauce. Just because it's more used in other things and not sort of eaten on its own. I don't feel like it can go too high though. But I do like it, so I'll put it in above average. Then in a similar route we have ginger, also used more as like a, as sort of like, well, it is a spice, is it? I guess, I don't know. It's a root, so well, it's used more similar again, like a spice / flavouring thing rather than just biting on some ginger. Also used in a lot of sweet things, you know, like gingerbread and ginger cakes, spice cakes, and all those things use a lot of ginger. I don't use ginger often, but I'm not too fond of it either, to be honest. I feel like it's not a fan for me. I don't use it often, and I'm not particularly a fan of like gingerbread and things like that, which are the things that I associate with it. So yeah, not a fan. I mean, I don't dislike it enough to avoid for sure. So not a fan's fan. Then we have green beans. Sort of a bit bland again for me. Just sort of, shove it on the side. Don't really do much. Sort of goes with a lot of things though because it doesn't have the strongest flavour. But, it gets the job done. I feel like it's just fine. Next up we have kale. Another really healthy one. It starts, this is always a classic, you put a load in a pan and by the time you finish cooking it you've got about a fifth of what you started with in terms of volume. It really shrinks down when you sort of cook it. It's really healthy. It's got a really good green colour. I do have it in occasionally when I make sort of smoothies. I do put kale in if I'm doing like a really healthy smoothie thing, which I don't do often to be honest, but it is very healthy and I feel like it tastes decent, but not the best. I think I'll put it in fine. I was contemplating above average, but I don't think it quite gets up there for me. Next up we have leeks. I don't have leeks often because I don't like them. You get just a big round slice of it usually when you do have, well, at least when I have it at places, and it's just not very nice in my opinion. Doesn't have the taste. It does look interesting with like all the layers and things. I'll give it that, but in terms of taste, yeah, I'm not a fan. That'd be an avoid for me if I could. We have lettuce. Sort of similar to cabbage, it's sort of like more of a filler. It's like the base of your salad or whatever. I don't think many people are just sort of eating a lettuce, but it does have a nice crunch and things like that. And I do quite like the taste of lettuce. I feel like it's sort of just better cabbage kinda. So I'll put it in above average. Then we have mushrooms. Some people could maybe not call this a veg, but I think I'd still class it as a veg. I do really like mushrooms as well. You can do a lot of things with mushrooms. You can like fry them, boil them. There's lots of different types of mushrooms as well. You get like small ones or really big ones. Eat them with like all your meals. You like have a nice mushroom with your like full English breakfast. Mushrooms used in pasta, on pizzas, a really good pizza topping. I like mushrooms at least. Or just on their own, just fry up a few mushrooms as a side for your meal. Yeah, I am really a fan of mushrooms. I'm not a fan enough to put them in great tier. You can't really eat them raw. You can eat them raw, I think, actually, but they're not really nice, and I'm not sure on that, actually. I'm pretty sure you can eat them raw, but I don't. So I'll put it in the I enjoy it. I don't think it's quite great, but you never know, I might move that up. Now, this thing, I have no idea what this is, so if anyone knows, feel free to let me know in the comments. I assume it will start with an N or an O, just because it's in alphabetical order and it's in between mushrooms and onions, so yeah, but I don't know what that is, and I've certainly never had one of them. Then next up we have onions. Another one where you sort of don't just eat an onion, you put it in other things, but you do put it in absolutely everything. So like sauces, when you're cooking meat, stews, use it for flavourings. Guess you have onion rings, is kind of just onion but with batter, so that's where you maybe would eat an onion. Or your pickled onion, you can eat a pickled onion, yeah. Onions, I'd say they're very versatile and they're useful in a lot of things, but I could manage without them as well. I would say, yeah, they definitely add to things, so I'll put it above average, but I wouldn't be crying if we lost them. But yeah, they do add to things, so they're definitely above average. Then we have a parsnip, another thing that I basically only have at Christmas, so I'm not the biggest fan of it, but it's bearable. It's a bit bland, a bit boring, sort of just like a white carrot but with none of the flavour. Yeah, it's not a fan. I don't have it often, and when I do, it's sort of just a bit bland and boring for me. Then we have peas. You can have like lots of varieties of peas. You know, you got mushy peas, which I'm not the biggest fan of, but I do like garden peas would be my favourite, or pea pods. You know, the sort of sweeter ones, and then like processed peas are kind of just all that. But I do quite like garden peas. Have a nice sweetness, like I say, so it's a bit different when you're having a meal. You know, some sweet peas, sort of bit of a contrast, or just as a snack. You know, eating a few pea pods is quite nice. Versatility, like I said, you know, the different types, I'd say they're above average. Then we have bell peppers, which, in my opinion, are also a fruit, but I do quite like them, but they won't be ranked on this list, because, as far as I'm aware, they're a fruit. Then we have radishes, sort of small, very crunchy, have like a sort of bit of heat to them as such when you eat them, you know. Like you feel it in the back of your throat a bit. So they have that going for them, but in terms of taste, I'm not the biggest fan. You have like, you know, horseradish sauce, which is I'm not the biggest fan of, but it's okay. A radish for me is, I think it's not a fan. Then we have rhubarb. I only ever eat rhubarb in sweet things like crumbles or pies, things like that. I don't know if you can, like, I don't know if people do just eat rhubarb on its own, or do anything different other than put it in like pies and crumbles and things. But my experience of it is through the sweet variant, which I must say I do quite like. Won't be my first choice of a sweet pie. I'd prefer like an apple pie or something like that. But you know, rhubarb pie, rhubarb crumble, yeah, it's certainly not bad. I'll say it's above average. Next up we have spinach. Sort of a bit similar to kale, you know, it's sort of healthy. It wilts away a lot when you cook it. Taste is, it's okay for me, you know, it's got sort of a strong, I guess, irony taste, I'd maybe describe it as. It's got a really good green colour again. I'd say it's probably fine for me. Then we have spring onions. Sort of used in other things again. You don't really, I guess you do eat spring onions a bit, but I use it mainly in other things. In a fried rice, spring onions, like a stir fry, get your spring onions in. Can be used as a garnish as well if you don't really want to eat it, just get some nice little green bits in for a bit of colour. But I do like the taste of spring onions, I am a fan. I feel like they're worth and I enjoy it. I do like a good spring onion, but mainly in other things. Then we have a swede, I think. Could be a turnip. This is a turnip, or this is a turnip, and one of them's a swede. But yeah, we'll say this is a swede, because yeah, it will be a swede, because this starts with S, sorry. So swede. A bit bland, but, you know, starch, sort of filling. It's kind of similar to a potato, but a bit worse, I'd say. Sort of a bit bland than a potato, and you can do less with it. But maybe you can do things with swede, but I certainly have done less with it. I think it's just pretty boring. Fine to you, it's fine, you know. It just bulks out things, like bulk out a stew with it, or just eat it on its own, but it's a bit plain and boring. Then we have sweet corn. Different variants again. You can have like the corn on the cob, or you can have like loose sweet corn. I do prefer the corn on the cob variant. I just think it tastes nicer than like the loose sweet corn that you get in a tin, or I guess you can take it off the cob, but yeah, when I have loose sweet corn it's come in a tin, so that might be why I don't like it as much. But a good corn on the cob I am a really big fan of, you know. When you go to like a barbecue, there's that barbecue corn on the cob that everyone's avoiding. I'm picking that up straight away. I do like a corn on the cob. But the loose sweet corn I'm not as much of a fan of, like a tuna sweet corn, things like that, like sweet corn in pasta. Yeah, I'm not as good fan of that, but a corn on the cob, big fan. I think it'll average out to I enjoy. Then we have a sweet potato. I don't have sweet potato that often because I just prefer regular potatoes, I guess. They're pretty similar, I guess, but they're obviously sweeter, as the name would suggest, and they're a bit denser. I think they're alright though. I'd say I'd happily eat sweet potato like mash or sweet potato fries or whatever, but I'd rather just have the normal potato variant. But I'd say it's fine. Then we have tomatoes, not a veg. You can see what I think about tomatoes if you watch my fruit rankings, because they are ranked in that, and they are a fruit for sure. This is a turnip, I assume. I don't really know the difference between a turnip and a swede, so it can just go in the fan tier with swede. All the things they apply to swede apply it to turnip, in my opinion. I could be wrong, but that's what I think. Then we have watercress. Pretty similar to cress, but just a bit worse, in my opinion. Has a bit less heat, and is doesn't tend to last as long, from what I find. I do have it less often than sort of what I call normal cress. I think it might be called garden cress, but I'll just call it cress. This is watercress. I think it's not a fan. I'm not the biggest fan of watercress. I'd prefer just this cress. And when you've got another option that's so similar and better, I'll just pick that. Now this must be a yam, which I thought was a sweet potato, but I guess not. And I don't think I've ever had just a yam on its own. But if a yam is a sweet potato, then obviously put it in the same tier as a sweet potato. But because I don't really know what a yam is, because I thought it was a sweet potato, I'm going to have to put it in the never had it. So that's either there or next to sweet potato, because I think they're basically the same thing. But I could be wrong on that. I'm also going to move mushrooms up to great. I do like mushrooms. I feel like they're worthy of great. So, quick overview. At the end in great, I have carrots and mushrooms. Both got versatile. I like them both. They're different to other things, different colour, bringing something different to the table. Yeah, I'd say they're both great. The enjoy it tier, the things I'd happily eat multiple times a week. Broccoli, cucumber, spring onions, corn. Yep. Above averages. Things I use quite a lot, but, I wouldn't be crying if I'm missing out on one of them. Fine. Tier is just things that are there. I'll eat it happily, but I'm not going to be making it for myself, sort of. Not a fan is sort of the things I'd eat, but not be happy about it. I don't really want it, but I'll manage to eat it and just mourn about it. And the avoid are just the things I just won't eat. And then we have the things in this tier that just aren't vegetables or I've never had. Never had an aubergine, don't even know what this is, and the yam sweet potato dilemma I've already mentioned. If you've watched this far, thank you very much. Let me know what you think of overrated, underrated, what your favourite veg is. If I've missed anything off the list, any big veg, let me know as well. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and goodbye.